My name is Daniel Ward. I'm 46 years old, and I am the kind of man who writes things down. I keep the boxes that hold the receipts that prove the dates that save your life when someone tries to lie. I never thought I would need any of that for a wedding. I was wrong. I met Lena on a Tuesday afternoon, standing in the freezer aisle, both of us staring at the last bag of frozen cherries like we were reading the future through ice. She laughed first. I said, "You take it. I'm more of a blueberry guy." She said, "I'm more of a cherry woman," then blushed at her own joke. We talked while the freezer door fogged. We forgot about the fruit. We left with the same brand of tea and a shared idea that maybe we'd see each other again. A year later, I bought a ring after a quiet breakfast. The sun made a bright square on her kitchen floor. She was barefoot, humming. I put the ring on the counter by her mug and said her name. She looked up, not scared, not shocked, just open. "Yes," she said, before I could ask, which is the kind of yes you remember when the room gets hard later. We held each other, and for a few seconds, the world was a chair that didn't wobble. Then I met Vivian. Vivian is Lena's mother. She dresses in winter colors year-round and speaks like she's late to a meeting you didn't know you were in. At our first dinner, she shook my hand with her fingers, not her palm, and scanned my shirt like it was a border crossing. "So, Daniel," she said, buttering bread like it owed her money, "you're older." "Older than who?" I said. She smiled without teeth. Then Lena. Then the boys she dated. Then the idea she had of her wedding. Lena kicked me under the table. I nodded, took a sip of water, and reminded myself of the rule I use for difficult rooms. Breathe, watch, write it down later. Vivian spent the rest of the meal talking at us. Menu ideas, venue names, the proper order of speeches. She said "my daughter's day" 3 times in a row and never once said Lena. After dinner, I told Lena we could set boundaries early. She touched my wrist. "Let's give her jobs," she said. "It will make her feel included." I said, "The person who wants the mic does not need the mic." Lena said, "I know," in the small voice adult children use when they mean "I know," but it's still my mom. We gave Vivian jobs. She asked for them all. She wanted the venue list, the vendor list, the guest list, the registry, the budget. She wanted a master calendar, a shared folder, and final say on taste. I smiled and said, "You can be our point of contact for the hotel block and shuttle bus." She tilted her head like a bird hearing glass sing. "I'll need more than that," she said. We booked a venue that felt like us, a long brick hall with high windows and a maple out front. It smelled like wood and old books. We paid a deposit. We chose a date in late fall when the air is clean, and even people who don't believe in romance say the light looks kind. We hired a band that knew sad songs that sound happy and happy songs that make you cry. We picked a florist who thought green was the main color and everything else was a guest. We planned a small menu: herb chicken, roasted vegetables, cake that tasted like cake. Vivian hated the band. She said our florist was a little farmhouse. She said the venue was fine, but not aspirational. She sent links to ballrooms that looked like credit cards. She used the word elevate, like it could open doors by itself. She handed Lena a binder with tabs and said, "I took the liberty." Inside were pages titled Vision and Brand and Palette and a table chart shaped like a war map. It was a list of things that did not look like us. We waited her out, we said thank you, we kept our plans, we let her keep her binder. 2 months before the wedding, a Thursday at 3:17 p.m., my phone rang while I was fixing a wobbly chair. Mara, our florist, spoke in a careful tone I have heard doctors use. "Daniel," she said, "I'm so sorry we can't work together anymore. I processed the cancellation like you asked." My hand flattened on the table. "Like I asked," I said. She read a note on her screen. "Yes. The bride's mother called an hour ago and canceled. She said the couple decided to go in a different direction." She sounded certain. "I'm so sorry. There's a late cancellation fee. I can waive part of it, but the staff hours." I didn't hear the rest. My ear filled with a high, white sound. After a few seconds, I remembered to breathe. "Mara," I said when the white cleared, "do you record calls?" She hesitated. "For quality and training. Not always. Sometimes." "Did you record this one?" I asked. "Maybe," she said. "Let me check." We ended the call like people stepping from one stone to another over water. I walked into the living room. Lena was on the couch with a stack of envelopes and a pen. She looked up and my face told her everything. "What?" she said. "What?" I sat down and took her hand. "Your mom called the florist," I said. "She canceled." Lena's shoulders lifted and dropped. "No," she said. She reached for her phone. Before she could dial, the screen lit up. "Venue. We're sorry to lose you. Your cancellation is complete." "Band. Hate to see you go. Good luck on your big day." "Catering. Per your mother's call, we've released your date." 3 messages in a row. The chair under me felt like it might snap. My heart jumped and then beat slow and hard like it was carrying a rock uphill. I tasted metal. Lena dialed her mother. Straight to voicemail. She dialed again. Straight to voicemail. She texted, "Did you cancel our vendors?" 3 dots, then nothing. I called the venue. "This is Daniel Ward," I said. "We did not cancel." The manager read a note from their system. The mother of the bride called, she said. She said there was a family emergency. She sounded upset. She said you would call us to confirm. 10 minutes later, another call came from the same number, and she confirmed. I said, "That number, can you read it to me?" She did. It was Vivian's. I asked if the venue recorded calls. "We note them," the manager said. "Sometimes our system records when we click record. This one shows a file." I asked for a copy. "I need to ask the owner," she said. "Ask him," I said, "please." The band said the same. The caterer said the same. The florist called back. "We have the audio," she said. "I can't send it without permission, but I can play it for you." She put me on speaker. I stood very still and listened to the sound of a woman pretending to be calm while she took a match to her room. "This is Vivian," the voice said. "I'm the bride's mother. We need to cancel. There's been a change. The couple is going in a different direction. Please process the cancellation. Yes, I understand about the fee." No background noise, no tears, just tight breath through a nose that likes to smell power. It was her. There is an edge to certain people's vowels you can pick out in a lineup. Lena pressed her hands to her face. Her shoulders shook, but no sound came out. Tears dropped through her fingers and made dark spots on her jeans. She lowered her hands. Her face was calm in the way you learn to be calm when you grew up with a person like that. "Okay," she said. "Okay, what do we do?" "We do what we always do," I thought. "We breathe. We watch. We write it down." We opened a fresh notebook and wrote timeline at the top of the first page. We wrote times next to each hit. 3:05 p.m. called a florist from MIL number. 3:08 p.m. called a venue from MIL number. 3:10 p.m. called a band. 3:12 p.m. called a caterer. 3:17 p.m. florist calls Daniel. 3:20 p.m. venue email. 3:22 p.m. band text. 3:24 p.m. catering email. We called our attorney, Ruth Nolan, who had helped us with a small contract once, and who speaks like a person who knows which bridge beams can hold a truck. She listened, asked for nothing extra, and then said, "You are in a one-party consent state. If a vendor recorded your mother-in-law's call, they can provide it with their permission. You can ask for written statements. You can demand call logs. You can lock down your vendors with a code word so no one else can touch your file. Do not confront yet. Gather first. I'll draft a letter. This is textbook tortious interference with contract. Possibly impersonation. Possibly fraud. Keep notes." We spent the next 3 hours calling each vendor and moving them behind a wall with a code phrase. Code phrase, maple window. No changes without the code. No calls accepted from any number except ours. No emails accepted unless they came from our new wedding domain, which I set up that night, ward-and-lena.com. We turned on two-factor. We set a simple rule. If someone calls and says, "I'm the mother," you say, "Please ask the couple to email from their domain." The venue owner called back. "We reviewed the call," he said. "We will reverse the cancellation," he added, "and we'll eat the admin time. My wife would kill me if I didn't." I heard his wife in the background say, "You bet I would." The band followed. The caterer followed. The florist, who had lost her afternoon to putting out fires she didn't set, said, "We will make your arch bigger." Then she said, "I'm sorry, that sounded like a bribe. It's not. It's because I'm mad." By 8 p.m., our date was restored across the board. We had a wall around it. We had a code phrase. We had one audio file in a vendor server and notes at 3 other businesses that said the same. Mother of the bride canceled. We still needed proof on paper. People lie to your face, and then they lie harder when the room gets crowded. Paper does not blush. I drafted a simple email with Ruth's help and sent it to each vendor. Please send a brief, signed statement on your letterhead, confirming the date and time of the cancellation call you received today, the number that called you, and any notes your staff made. If you have call recordings, please preserve them. If you can't send the audio yet, please confirm that a recording exists. Thank you. Within an hour, 4 PDFs hit my inbox. Each had a logo at the top, a date, and a line like this. At 3:08 p.m. today, we received a telephone call from ############################################################################################################################################################################################################################################################################################################################################################################################### The caller identified herself as Vivian Mercer, the bride's mother, and canceled the Ward Lena booking. Our system recorded this call. We have preserved the file per your request. I printed each one. I wrote the time in the corner. I slid them into the binder behind a tab that said vendor statements. There is a sound a 3-hole punch makes that I have come to love. It is the sound of future-proofing. At 10 page M, Vivian finally called. Lena put her on speaker and set the phone on the table. My lungs felt like 2 fists. "Hi, sweetie," Vivian sang. She sings when she lies. "Busy day. How are my lovebirds?" "You canceled our wedding," Lena said, voice steady. No hello, no softening. Just the line you use to keep a person from dancing you off the point. "Excuse me," Vivian said, bright as glass. "Why would I do that?" "The venue recorded your call," I said. "The florist recorded your call. So did the band. We have statements on letterhead with the time and your number." Silence. Then the clack of a tongue against teeth. "I have no idea what you're talking about," Vivian said, softer now. "There must be some mistake." "Mom," Lena said. "Why?" Vivian exhaled through her nose. "Because you are making a mistake," she said. "That hall is fine for a charity gala, not a wedding. That band is for bars. Those flowers look like a farmer's market. I saved you, darling. I called in favors for a ballroom that matches who you are. I can get you on their calendar. I already told them you want gold chairs." "We don't want gold chairs," Lena said. The words sounded like she had been holding them in her mouth for years. "Well," Vivian said, the old steel coming back, "you will when you see how it photographs. I have a friend in PR who—" "We're not debating chairs," said. "You are a guest," Lena said. Vivian went quiet in that way you can feel even through a phone. Then she said, slow and low, "You are my only daughter. This day is not for you to play small in. It is for me to show you who you can be. It is for me to marry the man I love," Lena said. Vivian's voice sharpened. "If you think I will stand by while you embarrass yourself, think again." She hung up. The quiet after a slam is a special kind of loud. Lena and I looked at each other across the table full of papers. "She will come harder now," I said. "Good," Lena said. "So will we." We did not sleep much. I wrote to Ruth and attached the statements. She replied, "Excellent. Tomorrow we send a cease and desist with a tortious interference warning and a preservation demand. Do not send it yet. I want one more thing, the carrier log tying that number to her account on that day." "How?" I asked. "Not her carrier," Ruth wrote. "Yours. Ask each vendor for their call detail record for that call. It will show the originating number. We already have that. We want one more layer. Request an affidavit from the manager stating that the number has been used by the person who has called them before as the bride's mother, plus any emails they have from that address. Chain it all. The story is not just today, it is a pattern." The next day I drove to the venue. I wore a shirt with buttons and a jacket that made me look like a person who cleans up after storms. The owner brought me into a small office with a photo of his own wedding on the wall. He printed the call log and wrote a short affidavit. "She called me 3 times last month to ask about shares," he said, smiling with only part of his mouth. "She introduced herself each time. I knew her voice yesterday." He initialed the bottom of the page. I slid it into the binder. The band did the same. The catering manager did the same and handed me a thumb drive with their audio file on it. "For the lawyer," he said. "She sounded thrilled to cancel. Is that a thing?" "It is when the wedding is not hers," I said. He nodded like he knew a man once who had lived in a similar house. We set up a new rule for our vendors. No changes by phone, all changes in writing. All emails must come from our domain and be countersigned by both of us through the vendor's portal. We asked each vendor to add a field called Authorized Contact. The only names were ours and our planner, Ava, who had a spine like rebar and a smile like a streetlight. We put a line under the field. No parents, no friends, no exceptions. That afternoon, Ava called me. "She's not going to stop," she said, skipping hello because she had already earned that right. So we set a trap, not to be cute. To be clear, we give her a false door to run into. "What door?" I asked. "An alternate date at a ballroom she would love," Ava said. "A fake email address that looks like yours but isn't, with a hidden tag that routes to me. A small, harmless test document with a signature line she cannot resist. If she signs it, we have her impersonation in ink. If she forwards it to a vendor, we see the path. Then Ruth sends her letter, not as a warning but as a map of the hole she dug." "We're not going to get arrested for that?" I asked. "We're not asking her to do a crime," Ava said. "We're letting her decide to do one if that's who she is. We will not sign her name. We will not click for her. We will set a bowl on the sidewalk and see if the stray cat eats." I called Ruth. She approved the plan with 3 edits and a caution. Do not poke, do not taunt, give her room to choose, keep your hands clean. We executed in a day. I bought a domain that looked like ours if you didn't squint, ward-and-lena.com with 2 N's, which made me feel dirty for a second and then useful. We set it to forward every single message to Ava. She built a short, innocent-looking PDF, vendor liaison update. It said, "Please confirm receipt of these contacts," and had a line for mother of the bride's signature, because Vivian loved that title more than she loved her own name. Eva sent one email from the decoy address to the decoy ballroom's generic inbox. "Hi," it said. "This is Daniel Ward. We're considering your space. My mother-in-law helps with logistics. Please coordinate with her." It included the PDF and Vivian's phone number. We didn't send it to Vivian directly. We let it sit in the wild like a shiny coin. It took 2 hours. Vivian forwarded the email from her account to 3 vendors who were not ours with a note. "I am the decision maker. The couple is overwhelmed. Let's move fast." She CC'd herself on the decoy thread. Then she called the decoy ballroom and left a message we could hear later because voicemail to email is a generous invention. "Hi," she said. "This is Vivian Mercer. I'm the bride's mother. We need to place a hold for Ward Lena." She mispronounced Lena's name like a person stepping over puddles. "On the first Saturday in November. I'm sending you our liaison agreement. I will sign." The decoy ballroom manager, Ava's friend, called back from a recorded line and said, "We need cosigners." Vivian said, "No need. I have full control. They're children." Her voice broke on the word children, not because she was sad, because she was excited. An hour later, the signed PDF came back. Scrawled in blue over the mother of the bride line was V. Mercer, and under that, authority granted. Authority granted. I printed it. I highlighted the words. I slid it into the binder behind a new tab, impersonation. That evening, Ruth sent the letter. It was short and careful. "Dear Ms. Mercer, we represent Daniel Ward and Lena Mercer in the matter of their upcoming wedding. We have received and preserved audio recordings and written statements from multiple vendors, venue, band, caterer, florist, confirming that you contacted them on date to cancel contracts you did not sign. We have also preserved your signed representation, authority granted, in relation to a liaison agreement you had no right to execute. Your actions constitute tortious interference with contract and may constitute criminal impersonation and wire fraud under statute. You are instructed to cease and desist from contacting any vendor, guest, or venue regarding this event. All future communications must be in writing to my office. We have delivered preservation requests to all vendors and will pursue all remedies, including a restraining order, cost recovery, and criminal referral, should any further interference occur. Sincerely, Ruth Nolan, Esquire. We sent it certified mail. We emailed it. We waited. At 9 p.m., the phone lit up with a storm of texts. From Vivian. "How dare you? My name on a piece of paper means nothing. You tricked me. You are unwell. You will not keep me from my own daughter's day. I will bring my family. Try to stop me." Ruth wrote back, "All future communications must be in writing to my office." Vivian sent 15 more texts. Ruth did not reply. We printed them and slid them behind communications. In the days that followed, Vivian tried to find side doors. She called my aunt, who she met once, and said our venue had rats. My aunt called me. I put her on speaker with Lena and told her the truth. She cried and said she was sorry and said she would block Vivian. She did. Vivian emailed 3 guests to say we had eloped. They texted us. We sent them a note. Ignore outside messages. Check our wedding site only. We set our site to require a code. We changed the code every 48 hours. We did not include Vivian in the email. Vivian tried to reset our registry. She guessed the password question wrong. Lena's first pet was not named anything close to what a person like Vivian would choose, and the system sent me an alert, which I printed and filed. A week later, Vivian showed up at our house. She wore a coat like a flag and carried a bag that made a sound like paper when she set it down. She didn't knock, just walked in like a person who thinks the air holds her name up in front of her. Lena met her at the door and stepped into the space. "You need to leave," she said. Her voice shook and then steadied. "You are not invited in our house right now." Vivian smiled like she was being filmed. "Darling," she said, "you are confused." "Mom," Lena said, "this is the last time I will say this nicely. Leave." Vivian laughed without mirth. She looked past Lena at me. "Daniel," she said, like she was reading my name off a chart. "May I speak with you as the man of the house?" "I am the woman of this house," Lena said before I could speak. It was not a shout, it was a bell. Vivian's face moved through 5 small storms in 2 seconds. She picked up her bag. She took a breath and found a smile that had once worked on strangers at charity events. "I'll see you at the tasting," she said. "There is no tasting," I said. "There is always a tasting," she said. "That hall serves chicken. I will not be eating chicken." Lena stepped back and closed the door. It latched. We stood with our heads against it and laughed, the kind of laugh you laugh when you don't want to cry into each other's necks. We knew she'd try again. We knew there was a hole in the wall we hadn't seen yet. The hole was the church. Lena's family is old-fashioned about some things and loose about others. Church was one of the fixed things. Lena had chosen a simple civil ceremony with a judge at the venue. Vivian wanted a church with an aisle that echoed. She had been careful not to argue about it in words we could bring to a meeting, but you could feel it in her jaw. A week later, the pastor of Lena's childhood church called. His voice was kind and puzzled. He wanted to confirm the rehearsal time for Friday and the fee for use of the sanctuary. "We are not using the church," Lena said. "We are doing a civil ceremony at the venue." The pastor was quiet a long time. Then he said, "Your mother booked us. She paid the deposit. She requested the long aisle runner." He read the notes on his screen. "She said you were fragile and needed her help." Lena's fingers trembled. "We are not using the church," she said again, but slower. "Please refund her, or donate the deposit to the food pantry." The pastor apologized 3 times. He is a good man. We asked him to send a note confirming the call. He did. Ruth updated the letter, added the church to the list, and sent it again, this time CCing a polite detective on the community crimes unit. Not because they would arrest a mother for being a nightmare, but because it draws a line on the floor. "We see you. We see your pattern. We have names for the things you do." Then we realized where the real hole was. It wasn't the vendors. It wasn't the church. It was the guests. Vivian had the list. She had addresses. She had an old spreadsheet. If she couldn't cancel the wedding, she could cancel the people. We called Ava. She had already thought about it. "We take the list away," she said. "We make a new one. We put the tickets in people's hands in a way she can't touch." "How?" I asked. "Paper," she said, like she was asking me if I'd meant my own brain. "We print invitations with a QR code that links to your site. The code changes every 3 days. We hand deliver as many as we can. For the out-of-towners, we use FedEx with signature. We include a note. If you receive any other message about this event, ignore it. We make it clear without saying her name." "Will that look paranoid?" I asked. "It will look careful," Ava said. "The careful people will come. The chaotic people will fall away. That is a gift." We did it. We drove to people's houses at dusk, like we were running a quiet campaign for 2 votes that matter most. The visits turned into small reunions. People made tea. People told stories about Lena when she was 8. They hugged us like they were sorry for something they couldn't name. They promised to keep the code. They nodded when we said, "Please don't engage with Vivian." Adults understand a line when they see it drawn in chalk right in front of their shoes. Vivian tried a new tactic: money. She sent a letter, real paper, formal letterhead, her signature in black ink, that said she would subsidize a move to a better venue and upgrade the vendor list if we would reconsider our vision. She used the word vision like a flag again. The letter included a bank check for $10,000 made out to Lena Mercer, with a memo line, "For the wedding you deserve." We took a photo of it. We returned it by courier, with a copy of Ruth's letter clipped to the front. We logged the send. We logged the return. We kept moving. Then she made a mistake people like her make when a room stops obeying. She got sloppy in public. She cornered the florist at a community event and said, "If you were a real artist, you would have listened to me. The bride is lost." She did not see the person behind her take out a phone and press record. The florist sent us the clip. Ruth tucked it into pattern. A day later, Vivian texted Lena, "I have reconsidered. I will remove myself from your day." Lena exhaled, like she had been holding her breath for a year. 5 minutes later, Vivian texted me directly. "We both know she cannot handle this. I will fix it in my way. Enjoy your little party." I printed that and slid it into communications with a yellow tab. We thought maybe, the storm would blow out to sea. That was the day the tuck shop called to confirm my appointment for a fitting for a suit I hadn't ordered. "Black with gold piping," the clerk said. "As requested by your planner." I could hear her smile over the phone like she thought she was in on a fun surprise. A woman called and set the time for tomorrow at 11. "We have your measurements from a previous rental." I thanked her, canceled, and added the store to interference with a new line: gold piping. I do not scare easy. I do, however, think about risk. I thought about the door to our venue. I thought about the aisle. I thought about a woman in winter colors in a room that belongs to my bride. I asked Ruth a question I didn't want to ask. "Can we get a protective order for the day?" I said. "Not forever, just that day." "You can ask," she said. Judges are people. They understand events. They understand patterns. We have a lot to show them. We filed a petition with the court attaching vendor statements, audio confirmations, the fake liaison signature, the church call, the registry attempt, the texts, the public clip from the florist event, and the pattern of cancellations. We asked the court for a narrow order. No contact with vendors, no entry to the venue, no contact with the couple except through counsel. We did not ask for handcuffs. We asked for a line. The hearing was set for a Friday morning 2 weeks before the wedding. Ruth wore a navy suit that made her look like a decision. I wore the tie that smelled like the old church my grandmother loved. Lena sat beside me, hands folded, spine straight. Vivian showed up in white. Not cream, not bone. White. She sat alone. She did not look at us. The judge read the filings. He listened to the venue owner play the recording from the cancellation call. He listened to a clip of Vivian's voice saying, "I am the decision maker," and "authority granted." He studied the signatures. He read the texts. He looked at Vivian. "Do you dispute making these calls?" he asked. Vivian smiled with 2 teeth. "I dispute the context," she said. "My daughter is overwhelmed. He," she did not use my name, "is controlling. I have always handled family events. I was simply assisting." "Assisting," the judge said, in a tone that made the word sound like a bug. He signed the order. Narrow, clean, sharp. He slid it to the clerk. "Ma'am," he said, "if you violate this, you will spend a few hours in a room you do not like." Outside in the hall, Vivian hissed, "Traitors," like we had sold state secrets. Lena looked at her mother like she was looking at a ghost she still loved. "Please stop," Lena said. Vivian said nothing. She left in shoes that clicked like claws. We went home and added protective order to the binder. I wish I could say that was the end of it. People like Vivian do not leave rooms easily. The order gave us a wall. She looked for a ladder. She found an old one named Uncle Ray. Ray is Vivian's older brother. He is the kind of man people print business cards for that say consultant and nothing else. He called me from a blocked number. "You made your point," he said, voice like polished wood. "Now you need to be smart. Family does not call the police on family. You will rescind the order. Vivian will apologize. We will all have dinner and laugh about this." "I am not hungry," I said. "Is that your final answer?" he asked, in the tone men use when they think they can invoice you for it later. "No," I said. "My final answer is on paper. You can read it if you want. It has a case number." He sighed, like a king in a second-rate play. "You are signing up for a long life of being excluded." "I am signing up for a short day that belongs to us," I said. He hung up. I logged the number as private and wrote Ray in the margin. We tightened everything again. Ava added a second code word to the vendor files. The band lead put me on his VIP list, so a floor manager could recognize me at a glance. The venue owner added my photo and Lena's to the back office board with couple in bold. The security guard used to work in a courthouse. He smiled when I showed him the order. "Copy for me?" he asked. "2," I said. We shook hands like a deal mattered. We also planned something sweet, not a trap, a gift to ourselves. We asked 3 friends to hold our rings until the moment we asked for them. No one person had both. We made it impossible for anyone but us to start the ceremony. It was a small thing. It made me breathe easier. The last week before the wedding was calm in the way a sky is calm before you notice the hair on your arms is standing up. The peonies on our table. Yes, I copied the idea from the last life I told you about. Flowers are a kind of prayer. Open slowly, one petal at a time. The binder sat on the new shelf I had built for it. The house felt like a body whose fever had broken. We slept. We woke. We checked the list. We crossed off items with a pen that wrote like butter. On Thursday night at 11:47 p.m., my phone buzzed. Unknown. I let it go to voicemail. I listened. A woman sobbed into the line for 12 seconds, then said, in a voice so flat it made me shiver, "You are ruining everything," and hung up. I filed it. I slept. Friday morning, the venue owner called. His voice was all business. "We had an attempted delivery," he said. "2 white boxes, no sender." The note said, "Open at noon on the big day." I refused. They yelled. I pointed to your order. They left. "Who sent them?" I asked. "They wouldn't say," he said. "But the courier said a woman in a white coat signed the pickup." He laughed once without humor. "How many white coats do we know?" Ava texted me a plan in 5 lines. No outside packages accepted on site. All deliveries confirmed by me. Guests reminded to ignore any extra messages. Security posted at the service door. We start early before anyone expects it. She ended with a smile emoji. I didn't know I needed until I saw it. Saturday came. I woke before the alarm and watched a stripe of sun move up the wall like a slow miracle. I said my vows out loud to the quiet house. I put on my suit. It was navy, not black, and there was not a speck of gold on it. At the venue, the maple in front was the exact color of good bread. The air had that bite that makes you feel awake down to your bones. The band tuned. The florist built a green arch so soft it made the brick look kind. The caterer rolled past with trays. The security guard nodded and touched the earpiece he didn't need to look professional. Ava took my phone. "No screens now," she said. "Today is a page, not a feed." I handed it over, like a dangerous thing I didn't want to carry. Guests arrived with the faces people wear when they know they are walking into a room that is about love and also about survival. They hugged like thanks. They took their seats. The low music started. The judge cleared his throat and practiced the line I was going to memorize, by the power vested in me. 10 minutes before the ceremony, I stood by the side door and looked out at the street. A white sedan rolled up and stopped half a block away. A woman in winter colors stepped out. Her coat caught the light. She stood there a long time. She did not move toward the door. The security guard took 1 step forward and then stopped. She looked at the building like it had personally insulted her. She took out her phone. She put it back. She got in the car. The car pulled away. I do not know if Vivian cried in that car. I do not know if she tore a check in half. I do not know if she felt small or like a queen. I only know the knot between my shoulder blades loosened, and I could feel my fingertips again. I walked back into the hall. Ava placed me at the front like a bookmark. The music changed. Everyone stood. Lena's brother walked her down the aisle. She looked like herself. Not a magazine, not a brand, not a palette. Herself. Her eyes were wet and clear. She reached me and took my hands. I could feel the small bones in her fingers and the steadiness in her grip. The judge began. I heard the first line and the last line, and not much in between, because my brain was writing a different sentence. We did the work. We kept the door. We kept the day. We said our vows. We put on rings. We kissed. The room made a sound that was loud and soft at the same time, like rain on a tin roof from far away. We turned. The doors at the back opened to the patio, where the maple threw a shade like a blessing. Our friends walked out into that light to drink something cold and eat something small, and say the nice lies you say at weddings that are actually true. Inside, the binder sat in a tote behind the band, ready if the day needed it. It didn't. The day needed music and a little bit of cake on Lena's nose and my nephew's serious bow while he asked me if he could keep his tie. We danced. Someone laughed so hard they had to hold the wall. The florist cried in the corner because she was happy to be in a room that felt like it deserved the flowers it held. Near the end, Ava touched my elbow. "One more thing," she said. I followed her to the mic. She handed it to me. My heart ticked like a metronome set a little too slow. "I want to say something," I said, and the room hummed and then went quiet. "Not about the past, about the people in this room. You chose us. You came when it would have been easier to ask for a recap. You gave us your time. You kept our code words a secret like it was a camp password. You ate chicken. Laughter. Good. Thank you." I looked at Lena. She nodded. She knew what was next. We had rehearsed it once, just in case. "There is one person who is not here," I said, "not because we didn't invite her, because the court told her she had to stay away." That is a sad sentence in a happy room, but it makes the happiness heavier in a good way, because it means we carried something hard together to get here. I held up a small card. "This is our last note on this subject," I said. "Then we go back to cake," I read. "You cannot cancel what you did not create. You cannot sign for what you do not own. You cannot love a person by stealing their day. We forgive when we are ready, not when we are told. Today we are busy." The room exhaled. A dozen shoulders dropped. Someone clapped once before the rest were ready. Then the clapping grew and grew until it sounded like the weather changed. We went back to cake. Later, much later, when the lights were low and the band was tired and the maple outside had let go of a few more leaves, I sat on the edge of the stage and took off my jacket. Lena sat next to me and leaned her head on my shoulder. "We did it," she said. "We did it," I said. We listened to our friends say goodbye and our families gather coats, and our planner tell the caterer she would bring back the cake stand. The order in my pocket felt like a folded napkin. The fear in my chest felt like a story I could put away. We cleaned up with the staff because it felt right. We loaded a car with flowers for the neighbors. We walked out the side door and into the clear, cold night. I wish I could tell you that was the end. It was the end of the day. It was not the end of the story. The day after you win is when you find out what the other team did with the ball while you were shaking hands. When we got home, there was a small stack of mail on the mat. On top was a letter from an attorney I did not know whose signature looped twice like a figure eight. It said notice of intent. It said defamation. It said damages. It said demand. It said a lot of things that sounded like someone throwing all their silverware in a drawer. I set it on the table. I looked at Lena. She looked at me. We didn't say a word. I opened the binder. I turned to a fresh page. I wrote the date. I wrote the words, "New game." Then I wrote a sentence I have learned is the kind you build a whole life on. "We will answer with proof." I set the letter on the table and took a photo. Defamation. Notice of intent. A list of words that aren't proof but like to stand next to it and pretend. I texted Ruth the photo. She called in 2 minutes. "This is leverage, not law," she said. "They want you rattled. Good. You're not. We file an anti-SLAPP response, if they actually sue. We counter with tortious interference, impersonation, and request sanctions. Meanwhile, I want you to do what you do best." "Binder?" I said. "Binder," she said. "And one more thing. Print the letter. Circle every false claim in red. Underline every true one in blue. Send me a scan. We will build our reply on the blue." I made coffee. I laid the letter flat. I circled false. That we had defamed by telling vendors she canceled. We had recordings. That we had harassed by sending a preservation letter. That's called lawyering. That we had concocted a trap. We didn't. She signed a line no one forced her to touch. I underlined true. She had contacted vendors. She had spoken as decision maker. She had paid a church deposit in our names. I scanned it and sent it to Ruth with a subject line I've used each time something tried to tilt me. "This is mostly air," Ruth replied. "Air doesn't knock walls down. Brick does. See you Monday." Monday morning, Ruth filed a response to the letter that felt like a hand placing a heavy book on a table. It cited the recordings, the statements, the protective order, and then did something that made my mouth dry. She welcomed discovery. "We will happily accept Ms. Mercer's phone records, emails, and any documents related to her communications with vendors, church staff, and guests," it said. "We will also accept her IP logs and a list of any agents acting at her request." That's the thing about bluffing a numbers man. I will count every card in your hand while you perform. 2 days later, the defamation lawyer blinked and filed the suit they had threatened, thin as a menu and twice as greasy. Ruth filed the anti-SLAPP motion with exhibits so tabbed it looked like a coral reef. The hearing set for 3 weeks out. In between, depositions. Paper first, then mouths. We serve subpoenas for call logs. Vendors sent us their carrier prints, originating numbers matching Vivian's line, timestamps lined up to the minute with their staff notes. The church sent an email letter confirming deposit, the signer, and a copy of the receipt. The tuck shop gave us the internal note, mother of the bride requests gold piping. The registry company sent a security alert with an IP that traced to an office block downtown. Ruth raised an eyebrow. Her charity board has offices there, she said. Board? I said. She sits on 3, Ruth said. One of them has an ethics policy about use of resources. I didn't smile. I did breathe. We also pulled our carrier logs, the night of the sobbing call, the noon on the big day boxes, block numbers, private lines. We matched everything to the minute against camera clips from the venue's service door and our porch. We didn't assume. We matched. Deposition day, a conference room with glass walls and a view of a parking lot. Vivian sat across from me in a suit the color of wet slate. Her lawyer adjusted his tie like it was a lever that could change the weather. Ruth laid our exhibits in a neat row. The stenographer placed her fingers on the machine and waited for truth or its shadow. Ruth started slow. Ms. Mercer, have you ever contacted the venue? Vivian, I don't recall. Ruth slid the venue's call log forward. Is this your number? Vivian, yes, but I don't recall this call. Ruth pressed play on a small speaker. Vivian's voice filled the room. This is Vivian. I'm the bride's mother. We need to cancel. Vivian's eyes flickered. She said, that must be edited. Ruth, you can inspect the original file. We have a chain of custody. She placed the band's statement next. The caterers. The church. Did you sign this? Ruth tapped the liaison PDF. Vivian smiled like a cat. It's my initials. That is not a signature. Ruth, do your initials carry your authority? Vivian, always. Ruth let the silence do the work. Then Ruth did the thing I hired her for. She asked about the IP address from the registry attempt. Are you familiar with the charity office network? She said. Vivian, our IT handles that. Ruth, did you use a computer there to access the couple's registry? Vivian, it could have been anyone. Ruth slid a printout of an email Vivian had sent that same morning from her charity email, the IP printed like a thumbprint at the bottom. Or it could have been you, Ruth said. Vivian's cheeks moved like she'd bitten a lemon. She looked at her lawyer. He lifted a palm. We can answer that at trial, he said. Which meant, we can't answer that today. At the lunch break, Vivian grabbed a napkin like it was a weapon and hissed, You will regret this. I folded my hands like a waiter. We already regretted it, I said. Then we did the work. The anti-SLAPP hearing landed like a piano. The judge read both sides, leaned back and said, Ms. Mercer, you sued because they told the truth. He granted our motion, struck her defamation suit, and awarded attorney fees to us under the statute. He turned to Ruth. You will submit a fee statement. He turned back to Vivian. Ma'am, the statute exists for exactly this. Outside the courthouse, the florist hugged Lena. The band leader bumped my shoulder and said, On the house for your first song, even though the first song had happened and had not been on the house. It was the kind of human math I like best. But Ruth wasn't done. We can wait for trial on tortious interference, she said, or we can use this moment to push for a consent judgment. She outlined terms on a legal pad while we stood in the sun. Permanent injunction, no vendor contact, no venue entry, no guest contact, no impersonation, ever. Damages, pay our costs and Ruth's fees awarded by anti-SLAPP, plus a donation equal to those fees to the shelter Lena volunteers at, no tax credit acknowledgement. Apology, a written apology to be mailed by certified mail to the entire guest list and to each vendor she contacted, with language we approve. Public correction, a half-page ad in the Sunday edition of the local paper reading the apology, signed. Ethics referral, her charity board to receive a copy of the consent judgment. Enforcement, if she violates, an automatic confession of judgment for an additional fixed sum and a 72-hour contempt hearing. "It's a lot," I said. "She owes a lot," Ruth said. We sent the offer. Vivian refused in an email that tried to sound like a queen walking away from a table she owned. We set a trial date. 2 weeks later, her lawyer called Ruth at 7:12 a.m., which is the time men call when a woman in their client chair has decided the room is not a toy. He asked for a meeting. We met in a neutral office that smelled like carpet cleaner and regret. Vivian sat straight, hands folded, a line between her eyebrows you could put a stack of paper in. Ruth put our terms back on the table. Vivian's lawyer whispered. Vivian signed. I didn't feel joy. I felt weight turn into math. The apology letter took 2 drafts. We rejected the first because it said if, might, and misunderstanding, which are words cowards hide behind. The final letter was 4 paragraphs long, typed on paper that showed every small shake in a pen. To our family, friends, and the professionals involved in the Ward Mercer wedding, I, Vivian Mercer, interfered with Daniel and Lena's wedding planning by contacting vendors, canceling services without their permission, and impersonating a decision-maker. I also attempted to change their plans with unapproved bookings and communications. These acts were wrong. The statements you may have heard about Daniel and Lena eloping, being overwhelmed, or asking me to manage their day were untrue. I am sorry for the confusion and stress I caused, especially to Daniel and Lena. I have agreed to a court order that prohibits me from contacting their vendors or guests or entering their venue, and I am responsible for their legal fees in connection with the defamation suit I filed and lost. I have also made a donation equal to those fees to shelter name at Lena's request. I ask that you respect Daniel and Lena's boundaries going forward. Vivian Mercer. She mailed it certified to every address on our list. I watched the green return cards stack like leaves. Vendors framed theirs behind the register because sometimes an apology is art. The paper ad ran on a Sunday, half a page, black and white, no photo, her name big. The apology plain. I bought 3 copies and put one in the binder under resolution. I mailed one to the judge with a note that said, per order. I saved one to show our children if we ever have them when they ask what the difference between loud and right is. The charity board called a special meeting. Their policy forbids use of office resources for personal matters and requires members to act with honesty and respect. The registry IP log and the consent judgment took up their whole agenda. They asked Vivian to step out. She stepped out. She stepped down. The board issued a short statement. Ms. Mercer has resigned. No drama. Just a door closing in a hallway that needed quiet. I thought it was over. Then the courier brought the 2 white boxes. The venue had captured the storage company label months ago. Our subpoena landed, and the manager, sick of being dragged into family theater, turned over a packing list and the sender form. The boxes had been addressed to Bridal Emergency. Inside, per the list, 40 gold sashes printed upgrade crew, a banner that read, Surprise. Venue change, and 3 clipboards with scripts. Escort guests to coaches for the Mercer Ballroom. The sender signature, V. Mercer. Ruth filed the list as an exhibit to our consent order, not to add punishment, but to preserve the truth in a place where people think before they speak. Later, when I told friends about the boxes, they laughed until they cried. I don't fault them. Absurdity is a cousin of evil. It's fine to laugh at the cousin. That week, we took the copy of the apology to the pastor. He put his finger on the line that said wrong and nodded like a man who likes plain words. I'll keep this in our records, he said, for the day someone needs to remember how to spell it. Vivian went quiet. I don't know if she met with a therapist or a publicist. I don't know if she stands in her kitchen and practices saying Lena's name without the word my in front of it. The court order sits in a file with her driver's license number on it. The apology sits in one with her signature. Time will tell who she wants to be. The law will tell her who she cannot be in our lives. Lena and I moved on like a tide table. Small cycles, shorelines you can trust. We sent the florist a photo from the day, the arch blowing a little in a door draft, and 2 people not caring. The band lead sent us a voice memo. He'd written a riff named Maple Window and wanted us to hear it. We danced in our socks in the kitchen while dinner waited, and the song did what good music does, made the hallway longer and the ceiling higher. Months later, we were invited to a fundraiser at the shelter Lena loves. We put on clothes the color of calm. We walked into a room with white tablecloths and centerpieces made from green more than flowers. The executive director took the mic. She thanked donors and volunteers. She thanked us for our gift, which we had asked her to attribute to Anonymous. Then she said, "We have a special thanks to extend tonight for a gift made in someone's name at her insistence." A slide went up. In honor of Lena Mercer, with gratitude to Vivian Mercer for supporting the safety and dignity of women and families, someone clapped. The director added, "Boundaries are a form of love." People nodded. They didn't know the whole story. They didn't need to. They knew enough. On the way out, a woman in a dark dress touched Lena's arm. "I know your mother," she said carefully. "I am sorry," Lena nodded. "I hope she finds a better way to love me," she said. The woman squeezed Lena's hand and said, "Me too." Later that night, we sat on our stoop with 2 mugs and watched a neighborhood cat pretend to hunt a leaf. The air had that early autumn chill that tells you the year is ready to end on purpose, not out of exhaustion. I thought about the 12 ways this could have gone worse, the 3 ways it could have gone better, and the 1 way it went. With paper, with people, with a line drawn by a judge and carried by a family that decided to stop performing a script someone else wrote. In the morning, I pulled the binder down and added a last tab, after. I put into it a copy of the anti-SLAPP fee award, the consent judgment, the apology, the charity resignation, and the shelter's thank you. I wrote 1 line on the tab in pencil, so light you had to tilt the page. We kept our day. Then I turned off the light in the room where we keep our proof and went to make breakfast with my wife. 3 months passed. The leaves blew off the maple. We folded our vows and tucked them into the binder, the way people put important paper, where it will still be true a decade from now. Vivian kept to her side of the line. For a while. In December, an email hit Ava's inbox at 6:02 a.m. The sender was a cousin we barely knew. Subject line, vow renewal, surprise, seeing a caterer, a DJ, and a venue we'd never heard of. Per Vivian, it read, "We're hosting a surprise renewal for the couple to make up for the drama. Please hold the first Saturday in February. Vivian will be decision maker." It included a program with a long aisle and gold accents. It attached a PDF with a signature we knew, V. Mercer, authority granted. Ava forwarded it to Ruth. Ruth didn't sigh. She didn't wonder why. She sent 1 sentence to Vivian's lawyer with a PDF attached. Violation. See consent order. Paragraph mark 4. Paragraph mark 7. Then she filed the confession of judgment we had built into the order and a motion for contempt with a stack of exhibits that looked like a staircase. The hearing was set for a Friday. The courtroom smelled like paper and winter coats. The judge took the bench with the look of a man whose patience was earned. Not endless. Ruth spoke 5 minutes. Dates, times, attachments, the cousin email, the new vendor's letter confirming Vivian as decision maker, the signed liaison with that same blue scrawl. Vivian's lawyer said the word misunderstanding 3 times, the word gift twice, and the word children once. The judge raised a palm. "Ma'am," he said to Vivian, "you are not confused. You are in contempt." He signed the confession of judgment for the fixed sum. He ordered 24 hours in county custody for the violation, stayed for 48 hours to allow her to pay the judgment in full and provide written proof to the clerk. He added a sentence I will never forget because it sounded like a door clicking shut on purpose. "If you touch the edges of this order again, you will spend a weekend considering your edges." By afternoon, the sheriff's office had filed the levy on her account. A check arrived at Ruth's office by courier before sunset. The clerk timestamped it. The contempt stay held. Vivian didn't go to a cell. She went home with a smaller balance and a new understanding of gravity. The cousin sent a single-line email that said, "I'm sorry, I got pulled in." We believed him. We asked him to please never let anyone pull him like that again. He wrote back, "That's fair. Quiet apologies are the best kind." We could have stopped there. The line held, the money moved, the law had spoken. But there was one thing left that wasn't about winning. It was about cleaning those 2 white boxes. The upgrade crew sashes, the banner, the clipboards, had sat in evidence like bad ideas caught in a jar. When the storage company gave us the packing list, a clerk offered the actual boxes. "We'll dispose," I said, then I paused. "No, we'll take them." We brought them home. We opened them on the dining table where we had written our vows. We slid the gold sashes out like loud snakes that had finally gone still. The banner read, "Surprise! Venue change," in a font that announced itself even when no one asked. Lena looked at the heap of shine and shook her head. "What do you even do with this?" she asked. "Make it useful," I said. We cut the sashes into strips, we braided them, we sewed D-rings on the ends. It took a Saturday afternoon and 2 mugs of tea. We made 10 strong, ridiculous-looking leashes out of the scraps of someone else's plan. On Monday, we took them to the shelter. The volunteer at intake laughed until she had to wipe her eyes. "These are perfect," she said. We were short. People like a little flash. We walked past kennels full of faces that deserved better than whatever got them there. A young dog with a white patch on his chest leaned into the bars when Lena crouched. She slipped a gold leash through the ring on his collar. "Let's give you a better story," she whispered. We left the leashes and 1 check. The consent judgment required a half-page public apology. It ran. People read it and put the paper down and went on with their mornings. No pile-on, no vengeance parade. Just a city doing what cities do. Absorb something and move. The certified letters to the guest list arrived. We watched the green return cards stack in neat piles on our table, one more proof that the bill went where it should. The charity board's statement was 2 lines long. "Ms. Mercer has resigned. We thank her for her past service." A friend sent me a photo of Vivian walking out of the building with a stack of papers under her arm and her jaw set like a hinge. I didn't save it. Not every image earns space in the house you live in. February came. We made soup, we went to a matinee, we visited Lena's grandmother and fixed a lamp. At lunch, my nephew asked if our wedding day was still ours. "More than ever," I said. He said, "Cool," and returned to his fries. Wisdom is inherited in little bites. On a dry March evening, a letter came to our door, hand-addressed, no return. Inside, a single sheet. "I am getting help. I'm sorry. V. No excuses. No ask." The postmark was from a town where people go to talk when their old tricks stop working. I didn't frame it. I didn't feed it to the shredder. I slid it into the binder under after, behind the apology and the resignation, and the shelter's thank you. The tab has room. We hosted a small dinner in April, not a vow renewal. A simple meal with the people who had kept our codes, driven across town with cupcakes when lines got thin, and stood at the back of a courtroom because benches are easier to face when a friend's shoe is next to yours. We set the table with green more than flowers, poured wine like we weren't saving it for later, and went around once to say 1 sentence each about the day we kept. No speeches, no toasts. 1 sentence. Mine was this: "You cannot cancel what you did not create." Lena's, "Boundaries are a form of love." Ava's, "Paper is a hug for the future." Ruth's, "Next case." After everyone left, I took the binder down one last time that night. The cover is scuffed in places where my fingers learned to land without looking. I added 1 last page. A photo of 2 people in socks dancing in a kitchen to a song called Maple Window, while a pot bubbled and no one tried to sell them gold anything. I wrote the date in the corner and a small note my mother would have approved of. "Keep your name clean." We turned off the lights. We went to bed. In the morning, we woke up married again. If you have a wedding thief in your life, and some of you do, you don't have to stage a war. You can build a wall with dates and names and small signatures. You can get a judge to draw the line you've been drawing in pencil and make it ink. You can turn a bright, useless thing into a leash that helps a nervous dog learn how to walk right beside someone who means it. That's the part one keep. Not the contempt threat. Not the ad. Not even the apology. The leash. We kept the day. We kept the door. We kept the light. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe and join Taste of Revenge family, and share your impressions of the story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on one of the boxes on the right. Thank you for watching to the end.